the Whitbread Championships at Badminton. This is the most prestigious three-day horse trials in the world. The trials themselves inaugurated in 1949 by the late Duke of Beaufort to give experience to prospective Olympic candidates for the 1952 Games. And indeed, it's been thrilling audiences ever since.
The jumping test was one of the most interesting items on the programme, and some pretty tricky obstacles were included in the course. The Queen obviously enjoyed watching the Olympic horse trials held on the Duke of Beaufort's estate at Badminton.
One of the jumps, the parallel bars and ditch, caused more trouble than most. A very awkward obstacle and something you don't have in the Grand National.
The Badminton horse trials, Britain's leading test of stamina for horse and rider, and most demanding part of the three-day event, the cross-country.
In the late 1950s, under the guidance of Colonel Bill Whitbread, himself a sporting amateur jockey, his company founded the Whitbread Gold Cup, the first ever commercially sponsored race.
The cup was presented by Mrs. Whitbread to Parcells' owner, Mr. Rogerson.
A few years later, Colonel Whitbread's great friend, the Duke of Beaufort, asked him if he'd extend this sponsorship to the Badminton horse trials, and he readily agreed. Garrard's designed the now famous trophy, and smaller replicas have been awarded for the top 12-place riders every year since that date.
Trophy, and with Lucinda is the owner.
In the early days of horse trials, the public were less aware of what riders had to accomplish to win this ultimate prize of horsemanship. Media coverage tended to confuse the sport with other equestrian disciplines.
The cross-country race is over a distance of nearly 4.5 miles. It includes 34 obstacles.
Miss Hazel Booth on Mary Poppins II, looking very confident at the 21st jump in the 2.25-mile steeplechase.
The emphasis this year of the show jumping is the quickness of twisting and turning.
Mark Phillips and Great Ovation at the Lake. Not entirely happy across country, Great Ovation was finally eliminated.
Dressage or training is an important feature of the three-day event. It's designed to...
So what is a three-day event? The combination have to execute a series of set moves in an arena which are judged by a panel of 3 dressage experts. Each move is marked out of 10 and tests the suppleness and obedience of the horse. Comte de la Gravière, an experienced international judge, explains what he looks for in this phase.
Well, the most important thing, I think, for a three-day eventing horse is to be straight and calm. And I think I'm looking more specially to be in balance first, the most important thing. Because if you have a horse in balance, he will have more chance of the fences.
On the second day of the trials, the same horse and rider are tested for speed and endurance. The first section is roughly 3 miles in length. Roads and tracks, it's called, at a trotting pace. And then you come to the first really strenuous effort, and that is the steeplechase course, between 8 and 10 fences at racing pace, to be conducted in under 4 minutes.
4, 3, 2, 1, go!
And this all takes place, remember, before they come to the cross-country fences. That just shows how fit the horses have to be at all the paces. The rider looks at his watch, he checks his time to make sure he's within the optimum time, while the dogs have a quiet sleep. Charles Cottenham in trouble. Can he hang on? Whoop, he's going, he's gone. Well, after the strenuous effort of the steeplechase course, the horse and rider settled down to another 5 miles on roads and tracks before they come to the big endurance section. And after completing that 5 miles, there is a compulsory 10-minute halt in the box before the start of the cross-country course itself. And this is where the horse is inspected by the veterinary surgeons and where last-minute preparations are made both for horse and rider. Badminton, of course, has several great feature fences. It's always the whitbread barrels to get them off to a good start. Then there's Huntsman's Close, when you come into the dark from the light.
He overtook her, she's going the second way, and another stop.
On to the quarry.
And she has one more chance, but she seems to run out of steam. This horse started so well over the course, it was really impressive, but he seems to have run out of steam, and she's going the more difficult way for the third chance. Oh, and, well, she's safely over it. A very courageous effort by Diana Clapham as Windjammer.
The whitbread fences themselves, the W. And then Luckington Lane, where the course leaves Badminton Park. Coming back across the park, it's the whitbread trays, a maximum height and spread fence. And of course the fence which draw the biggest crowd, the lake itself. Since the earliest years, the lake fences have made compulsive viewing for the huge crowds that gather there.
The speed and endurance test.
Making a splash at badminton. The badminton horse trials, 3 days of grueling and exacting tests for horse and rider. It's the pentathlon of riding, combining a...
The cross-country section is the most important part of the event, where most of the penalties can be accrued by the competitors. Very simple to score, 20 for a first refusal, 40 for a second, and a third refusal means elimination. And if you have the misfortune to fall inside the penalty zone, it's a further 60 penalties. But what the leading riders are really after is the optimum time for the course. 1 minute slow here can drop you 10 places before you go into show jumping. On the final morning, all the horses still in the competition are again checked for soundness by the panel and the veterinary surgeons. Sadly, it's the end of the contest for some of them.
Afraid Swap Shot has not passed.
And so to the great final afternoon in front of the packed stands, in reverse order of placings to date, the riders have to successfully negotiate a twisting, if not very large, course. 5 penalties for any fault in the course, and so the championship is not decided until the last horse clears the very last fence. Previous winner, Mark Todd, loses out to Ginny Lane. Over the years, the crowds have had their favourites and stars quickly emerged. Eventing soon became a sport where the girls proved to be just as good as the men. Sheila Wilcox, who had a hat-trick of victories. In 1962, the turn of the great Amelia Monarch and Annalie Drummond-Hay. Colonel Frank Weldon, a winner himself on the great Kilbarry, who now designs the spectacular course and directs the event. Then there was the galloping nurse, Jane Bullen, who won on the tiny R. Nobby. Badminton's youngest ever winner, 18-year-old Richard Walker. Some became crowd favourites without ever winning this great event.
If anyone deserves a special prize, it's Lorna Sutherland, here riding Pofferdam. She's only the second rider to tackle the course 3 times on different mounts. Lorna rode Gypsy.
And the unofficial captain of the British team, Richard Mead.
At the last, and the time looks good. Could this be our new leader? And indeed, well over that last fence and galloping for the finish.
In the early 70s, there was a young Army lieutenant, Mark Phillips.
Over the final hurdle for a clear round to win the 3-day trials with more than 2 fences in hand. Lieutenant Phillips had been given a month's leave from the Dragoon. After coming in well ahead
A virtually unknown Hampshire girl, Miss Lucinda Pryor-Palmer, came 5th at her very first attempt. She won it the following year, and as Lucinda Green has now won it, a record 6 wins on 6 horses.
Still going beautifully. Not a sign of hesitation, not a sign of trouble as they come down over both elements there beautifully.
On her first horse, she went through the middle, and it looks as if she's going to do the same. She's playing safe, yes, 1, 2, 3, instead of going across the corner. Now it's just the treble. Yes! What a remarkable achievement. 4 wins at badminton on 4 different horses.
To the bullpens. This is the last big problem for Lucinda. Very fast, despite her stop, and clean as a whistle. Sees a long one on. Oh, literally slides across the top. But Lucinda's balance so brilliant. She quickly recovers. And away she goes yet again.
Another star is Ginny Lang, who started a purple patch a few years previously and sealed it by winning the Whitbread Trophy. Such is the prestige of badminton that it's always attracted top riders from overseas.
The winning combination of this race and of the whole 3-day event was Laurie Morgan on salad days. It was a victory for Australia, but salad days was perhaps more interested in the wash and brush up.
Furtive was one of 2 mounts ridden by Australia's Bill Roycroft. He took him to a very promising 4th place over the speed and endurance course, and on his other mount, Warrathula, he came in 2nd. An 18-year-old, Richard Walker, was to take the highest points, but Bill Roycroft's performance is pretty fantastic when you remember that he's 56.
The double world champion, Bruce Davidson, has yet to win.
Yes, no problem there.
But Mark Todd from New Zealand did so at his very first attempt. He then went on to win the individual gold medal at the Los Angeles Olympics. One enduring aspect of the Whitbread Championships has been the enthusiasm of the royal family from the very earliest days.
Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and Princess Margaret were welcomed by the Duchess of Beaufort and the Duke when they arrived during the judging of the first phase of the dressage test. The Queen, who was enjoying a brief respite from royal duties, was as ever a very keen spectator.
Princess Anne was a keen young spectator, but it was when she became a world-class competitor at badminton that eventing was recognised by an even larger public.
Real powerful jump on and off. Very well ridden indeed. There's a first glimpse of the day of the Queen Mother. Watching Princess Anne, of course, at the lake, and here she comes. Still looking very easy at this stage. Now, can she just gather him together and then let him stride on? She's certainly anchored him. Has she anchored him too much? Oh! Dropped his undercarriage too late. Almost looked as if he caught a leg, and sadly nothing to land on. And there is a very, very wet Princess Anne and Stevie B.
And Columbus at the lake.
In 1974, the Queen had the added excitement of seeing her own Columbus ridden to victory by her son-in-law, Mark Phillips.
The last jump and the entire cross-country completed without a single penalty. So Captain Mark Phillips finished the 3 phases to become the first horseman to win the badminton horse trials 3 times.
Mark Phillips on his first ride, the 9-year-old Brazil.
In a competition as grueling as badminton, even the best have their off days.
Possibly the major hazard on this course. A big log jump in. And rather reluctant, dropped his hind legs, comes onto a pole, first time to jump in the middle of the lake this time. And he never took off, and they're both under, he never took off at all. But they're up, a real ducking as Mark had at the lake 3 years ago at the Badminton Horse Trials. And Mark gets rid of the water from his boots. And he's called. No, he's gone. He caught his hind leg. He dropped his hind leg in between the two rails, and that cost him 60 penalty points for Tim. Julian Seaman on the Reverend Julian, who for 4 or 5 years has done so well here. This is Sunken Road. Ah, what a somersault! Oh dear, oh dear. And he bows out.
Richard, yes, I think he just about sees the funny side of it. Well, where is Andy Guy? Richard's going out. It's a big lake. No, he's still in sight. Richard's...
For some, it happened at the last fence.
Oh, no, I can't bear it. The horse just ducked his head down and said, no, I'm not going to jump that, Mum.
Oh, my word, what a fall. And wasn't she lucky that Shanna didn't come on behind her? There are hard luck stories to tell.
Mark had to let the reins go right through his fingers. In fact, they've gone somewhere. The rein is broken. The rein is, the rein is broken. He goes on to the, and he missed the elephant trap and has gone out of the course.
Sometimes the commentator provides his own kiss of death.
Just 4 fences from home at the bullpens, and surely he'll go the preferred route on the left-hand side. No, he's coming down the middle. Now he's got to keep straight. And he's offline, and David, and he's gone.
Occasionally, only slow motion replays can determine what went wrong.
But I think we'll see that Walkabout suddenly sort of started to cock his jaw, didn't really know which way to go, hangs away to the left, and David smack onto that tree and swept off in midair.
There are good luck stories too.
And Lucinda looking extremely... Oh, and right into the ditch. She jumped across the court. From New Zealand, Mark Todd, and oh, he's so nearly done. He jumped right across that footbridge, which is really impressive when you see it on feet, and he got it.
And Peter is in terrible trouble on opposite level, still all over the place. Well, we expect this in the circus ring, but he's still there, and he won't incur penalties.
Much has evolved over the years in the sport of eventing, but the ambition to one day win the Whitbread Championships remains the ultimate dream. The Whitbread Trophy, the ultimate prize.